had a chance to try my melting technique to get the anchors in to hold my hoop house in place, because pretty much as soon as I put that wheel well down where I need to melt the ice, the wind picked up. And when I say the wind picked up, I mean it was pretty intense, and it's been that way for almost 3 days. Right now it's early morning. Just dropped the kids off, not that early, just dropped the kids off at school. And this is the first calm minute we've had in 2 days since I set that wheel well on the ground. So now's my chance, I guess. I'm gonna try to get that fire started and see how that goes. Well, it's going to take a little bit for that to really make any impact. It's been very cold. Well, last week was warm, but other than that, it's been pretty cold for about a month, and we've had a lot of rain and melt, and there's just a lot of ice on the ground, and the ground's frozen beneath that. So it's going to take a little bit. Since that's a real small fire and it's contained within that wheel well, I feel comfortable, and it's out in the middle of my garden field, not near the woods or anything. I feel comfortable leaving it for a few minutes, take Ziggy for a walk. I said that word and he took off like a shot, so I gotta catch up to him. Alright, Ziggy, let's go check on the fire, bud. More ice outside the ice rink than there is in. I haven't had a chance to maintain it recently, but it's supposed to snow tomorrow night. So I'll be out here clearing it off, and that'll give me a chance to reboot. But for now, I need to reboot the hoop house. Let's see how we're doing here. Oh, I can hear the water boiling away as the ice melts down here. See it? That's a good sign. And here is the reason I wanted to use this wheel well to contain the fire. It has a hole in the middle, and I put the middle of the hole right where I want to set an anchor. This is going to allow me to move aside the wood while it's still burning and test the spot to see how far I can penetrate with the bar. If I can't break through the ice and frozen earth to the malleable soil beneath, I put the fire back together in the middle without restarting it and wait longer. The one thing I did not anticipate was the splatter. As the ice melts, it turns into water, obviously. However, each time I drove the bar into the hole I was starting to make, all that soot and mud-filled water collected in the indentation. Then I would drive the bar in,
splash that dirty water all over the place, and the cycle would start again. I made a right mess of those jeans. I finally got the ground melted enough to drive the bar in to a point where I was sure I could break through the remaining frost with an anchor and a sledgehammer. I could sort of tell by the way it felt, and if I was wrong, no harm. I would just pull the anchor out and keep at it with the bar a little deeper. At any rate, reaching that point was exciting. When I thought of it, I wasn't sure this idea was going to work, and whenever an uncertain plan comes together, that's always nice. Before I drove the anchor into the ground, I wanted to put the foundation where it was supposed to be. However, I quickly realized I wasn't going to be able to do that. There was too much pressure in the metal's muscle memory, and I wouldn't be able to hold it in place and hammer in an anchor. So, after thinking about it for a minute, I figured I would get the foundation as close as I could and then move it back and forth the long way. That way I could drive the anchor in ahead of time, then slide the foundation wall around the anchor until it caught. It worked. This was great progress considering just this morning the ground was frozen solid beneath at least an inch of ice. I was wondering if I could get away with just one anchor, but clearly there's still too much of a bow in this side of the foundation, which, in turn, is maintaining the bow in the ridgepole. So, it's back to one more anchor. Not too many years ago, I was researching masonry stoves with the intent to someday construct one myself. I garnered two main things from the research. First, I probably should not build a masonry heater. Second, I learned a lot about the history of fire, fireplaces, and the development of the stove. I say all of this because I've always been fascinated with fire. Other than knot and rope skills, building and cooking on outdoor fires were the skills I most gravitated to and enjoyed as a young Boy Scout. And now, even as an adult, those are the two things I enjoy most about camping and being outside. I can get a fire going in nearly any weather, and I can start fires without matches. But, depending upon the method used, it's difficult and consumes vast quantities of time and human energy. Even knowing that, and understanding that I really love building and enjoying a good fire, I still get an inexplicable satisfaction from being able to start a fire using residual heat from the coals of a previous blaze. I think the stories and myths that surround fire are likely based on some kernels of truth, and that's certainly the case for the traditions that surround the job of keeping fires from being extinguished. It was such an important job because it provided light, heat, and the ability to change ingredients into food. And that went on for hundreds of human generations. So, There's probably something in our primordial biology that breathes a deeply triumphant sigh every time a fire is kindled from the ashes of its predecessor.
Well, I didn't do very well with my second fire in the middle of the hoop house. I got distracted and I didn't come out in time to keep it going. I did throw a bunch of wood on it the last time I was out here, but I didn't have high hopes that that burned. I expect I'll find it. Come on, Ziggy. I expect I'll find it with that same pile of wood still on it. So that might not have worked. I do feel confident that I've at least got it to the point where it's going to be safely anchored. We do have a storm coming, not tonight, but the next night. We're supposed to get a pretty substantial amount of snow. So I would like to get this done. This anchor, I'm not going to put the plastic on, but I would like to get the anchors in before that happens. So hopefully, yeah, there's still a bunch of wood in there. That's a bummer. Anyway, maybe it will have melted enough from the previous fire to put an anchor in. We'll see. Well, that's much better. There's still a curve in the top, in the center ridgepole, or purlin, I guess, but it's much less of a curve than it was. There's still a curve on the foundation, but it's a curve that I actually like. It's much less, and you can see it's basically trying to bow out between this anchor and that middle anchor I just put in, and then between the middle anchor and the other end anchor. It's trying to bow out. So what that means is that there's a lot of pressure. These pipes really want to fling out this way. There's a lot of pressure pushing out in the middle. And that's actually a good thing, because what you don't want for a snow load is for snow to be pushing down on this, and this is already flexed out. You want it to be flexed in so that the hoops are pushing, essentially pushing outward everywhere along their length. And that's what we've got now. So again, there's still a bit of a bow, but I think actually now the reason that that's still there, that curve, is actually the reason that I thought it was there originally, which is that this greenhouse has been through the ringer, or this hoop house. You can see that pipe right there is really bent. That's the one that I had the most trouble bending back into position when this thing got lifted and tossed down the field. Oh, I think that was, I don't know, probably 10, 12 years ago now. Not long after I started farming commercially. That hoop was the one that took the brunt of the force. But all of them have, you can see stress marks actually. You might not be able to see it on the camera, but there's stress marks right here where it's been bent and rebent and bent again. So anyway, I am pretty pleased with how this came out. Meaning that I was able to get these anchors in before the snowstorm we're supposed to get, and that I'm now, I haven't measured it yet, but I'm betting that the height down there is within probably 5 inches of the height up here. So that's good, because that'll allow me to back the truck in if I can just plow, bring the plow over and open up that entryway over there, and then I'll be able to just back in with the manure and unload it, at least partially, in the hoop house. So I'm pretty excited that that fire thing worked. And I was able to, I guess it worked enough over here so that I was able to break through. So I'm pretty excited.